Princess Tutu came out in a year with 2 twos. 26 episodes that were somehow split into 38 episodes. Objectionable content? Mild. I beg to differ. Princess Tutu, or as they call it in Japan, Princess Chuchu, is that anime everyone swears isn't as lame as its title. And the stats seem to back that up. Why, personally, I have never heard anyone say anything remotely negative about Princess Tutu ever. The story is about a duck who transforms into a girl, who then transforms into a magical girl named Princess Tutu, whose goal is to collect the heart shards of a prince who broke his heart apart to seal away an evil raven. Unfortunately, the raven, like every other enemy in anime that has ever been sealed, is at risk of being unsealed and terrorizing the world once again. In essence, Princess Tutu has to gather the heart shards of the prince while avoiding the terrors of the raven, and she does this by transforming into her 3 forms, duck form, girl form, and tutu form, all the while dancing to classical ballet. This makes it a combination of Ranma 1/2, Inuyasha, and the Nutcracker. The story takes place in a walled city, which unfortunately does not have titans roaming about the perimeter. There is, however, more to the true nature of this town than meets the eye. There are only a few regular side characters in this show. The first is Muto, who is the prince who lost his heart and is currently a shell of his former self. There's Fakir, the prince's knight, who is totally useless with a sword, and so he decides to start writing stories in order to change the prince's fate. Basically, he is the living embodiment of the phrase, "the pen is mightier than the sword." There's Ru, who's Princess Tutu's rival, and like in any shoujo anime, the one who's prettier and has the bigger rack is inevitably the evil one. There's Uzura, who is the worst character ever, and finally there's Drosselmeyer, a madman lurking in the background who appears to be the puppet master controlling the entire story. All in all, this sounds like a pretty great story, and aside from the first 22 episodes, it is. The problem is that the first 22 episodes are dreadfully repetitive. Now, being repetitive in and of itself doesn't have to be a bad thing, but we're not dealing with violent repetitive or lesbian repetitive, we're dealing with feelings repetitive. You see, each shard of the prince's heart represents a different feeling, and in any particular episode until the end, they explore that feeling for the whole episode. The feelings themselves are nothing special, it's basically the 16-color Crayola crayon box of emotions. If a first grader can name the emotion, it exists in the show. Princess Tutu meets a character who's acting weird, finds out that that character is acting weird because he's possessed by that shard, dances with the character until the character realizes his true feelings, and then gives up the shard to Princess Tutu. It's the same thing every single time, and even the dancing is the same every single time. With the exception of a few particularly well done scenes, you're just getting stock ballet poses as the characters think their feelings aloud. When the show's not being dramatic, it does have a good sense of humor, but even that sense of humor gets repetitive. Even my favorite character, Mr. Cat, who has some of the best lines on the show, his marriage gag gets really stale. And what's with Princess Tutu being naked all the time? I was only half joking when I was comparing it to Queen's Blade. The only really good part of the show is the ending, and because of all the spoilers, I can't even talk about it. Let's just say, I like where the story went. It just took way too long to get there. Final grade, single tilde. What really disappointed me about Princess Tutu was that it sucked when I needed something really good to be watching. You see, last year when I was reading the Umineko VN, I didn't have a lot of time to watch anime, so I figured I'd pick quality over quantity and watch just one show that would be really, really good. It took me 6 months to finish watching the whole thing, and I finished all these shows first. So now in these new Baka-Raptor reviews, you've gotten one good review, one bad review. Next time you'll be getting a bit of both. Stay tuned.